Ah, yes, the good old Trayvon Martin case. How can we not talk about that? But look, we are going to talk about it. What the fuck? What has this gigantic circus been? Everybody's out there clamoring justice has been served, justice has been served. No, it hasn't. The fact that this even made it before a judge, and I use that term extraordinarily loosely, is a travesty to all sorts of American politics. For those that don't know, he originally was not even going to see a trial because it was so common sense that it was self-defense that there was no need for a trial. Then the racists, and I'm going to use the term black and white because the people that think I need to be politically correct, if they Caucasian and African American, can suck my, I believe I'm using the politically correct term, schlong. So the racists, and this was mostly from the black side, said, oh, a whitey killed the black man, so therefore he got off. If it was a white man that died, if it was a white baby or kid or whatever the hell we're calling Trayvon Martin today, he would have, there would have been people who got up in arms. And that, I must say, that is true, because if there's a white kid that is killed, that never makes the media story. Oh, sorry, Casey Anthony, didn't see you there. Anyway, the absolute travesty in this case is that it shouldn't have even seen a court. And originally it didn't, because it was so obvious that it was a case of self-defense. But then again, for whatever reason, there has been an extraordinarily large amount of race baiting going on from this current administration. Everybody likes to say, well, you know, all presidents are bad and stuff like this, but this really truly seems extraordinarily harsh on the side of race baiting. I don't seem to ever remember this before. Perhaps I have. Again, I'm not 5,000 years old. I can't remember what every single president did, but this amount of race baiting, it seems extraordinary. And I think the reason for that, quite obviously, because the president is black. Yeah, the president is as black as George Zimmerman is white. Let's just get that out of the way. But anyway, so here was the case in a nutshell. If you've totally been living under a rock and, you know, don't know anything about it. In Florida, a man named George Zimmerman, a Hispanic man named George Zimmerman, was on his he was walking around, and apparently he was part of the Neighborhood Watch. Now, the Neighborhood Watch usually is not an organization. It's just, I've always thought of it as a mindset, but apparently I've learned that there actually are people that swear to be Neighborhood Watch people. I'm not sure about the exact how that works out, but I've always thought of Neighborhood Watch as a mindset. You see the picture with like the scary creepy guy in the hat doing that sort of thing, and it says Neighborhood Watch. Don't screw around in this neighborhood because we're watching each other's back. I always thought of it as a mindset, not really an organization. But anyway, George Zimmerman was walking around and he was part of this Neighborhood Watch, and he happens to see a black man that he has never seen in this gated community before. Now, he calls the police to report the suspicious activity, and the police reporter says, don't follow him. This is where people get a little confused. The 911 operator says, don't follow him. This is where people get a little confused, because 911 operators don't actually tell you what to do. They can't condone anything that might be illegal. Like, for example, when somebody's breaking in your house, they can't say, shoot him. They can't give any advice one way or the other. They can only give you some sort of hints as what they will never condone anything illegal. They won't tell you to shoot somebody breaking into your house, even though you may be justified, because they're not there. They can't really make that decision, so they'll only do what they think would make everybody safe. But the police, the 911 operator says, okay, you know, don't follow him, let the police handle this. She's not giving him an order or anything like that to not follow him, because she's not there and she can't make the decision. The person that would be more apt to make that decision at that moment would be George Zimmerman. But anyway, George Zimmerman follows this guy because he's a little concerned about him. A person walking through his neighborhood that might look a little bit shady, wearing a hoodie with his hood up. And that's actually important. It's not just an innocence thing. Oh, well, you know, he's just had a hoodie and a bag of Skittles. You can actually profile somebody in matter that's not race. You can actually profile somebody if, for example, if somebody walks into your convenience store and it's 95 degrees outside and they have their hood up and they're in a winter coat, you know, perhaps they're trying to hide their identity. That's profiling, and that's perfectly acceptable. If, say, it's in Florida, you know, a nice hot place, and a guy's walking around with his hood up, that might bring suspicion. I don't care if he's purple. So, George Zimmerman decides to follow him despite the advice. Again, it's not really advice one way or the other, but despite the statement from the 911 operator. And he follows him around, and eventually, I guess, Trayvon Martin got scared that somebody was following him, which I'm not sure how I feel about that, but he got scared that somebody was following him, and he started wailing on George Zimmerman. And a big fight ensues, and eventually George Zimmerman's head is getting beat into the pavement. And the 911 operator can clearly hear George Zimmerman screaming on the phone that he is getting his head beat in, and fearing for his life because, he's already given him, the assailant, many chances to stop because he even had the presence of mind to scream in the 911 operator's phone, "This guy's killing me, this guy's killing me." He's given him plenty of opportunities to stop, and finally he draws his weapon and fires a defensive shot. That's basically what happened in this case. It was so clear-cut what happened, A to B, that originally he was not even going to see any sort of trial whatsoever. I don't know why people forget that, because they're all distracted by it as race baiting. If it was a white boy, if it was a white boy. Yes, and the white people are the ones that are racist. The white people didn't even mention race whatsoever, yet the blacks are over here saying, if it was a white boy, he wouldn't, if he was a white boy, he would have been in jail right now. Right, because, that's totally not a manufactured thing by the extraordinary racists at such places as MSNBC and people like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. The funny thing is, they have this facade that they're not racist. They're the ones that are defeating the racist whiteys, when in fact, race is never even an issue until their dumbasses get involved. So, the case, goes to court, and it's an absolute circus. It's hilarious how biased it is. In fact, I was completely certain that he was going to get charged with something. Because let's not forget, I like the fact that the judge is like, well, even if you don't charge him with murder, there still is manslaughter that you can get him with. Trying to get everything in. Plus, the judge herself was extraordinarily biased, and she was white, so it's this white guilt thing that I guess all the white people are supposed to be guilt-tripped because of, I don't know, whatever reason. I don't even know what reason they're using this time, because, slavery or something like that, even though they conveniently forget that blacks kept slaves for, hundreds and hundreds of years as well. But apparently we have some sort of white guilt because it's the cool thing to do on the left. And you may think that I'm sounding very racist here, but it's exactly the opposite. The racist ones are the ones that are calling everybody else racist. Oh yeah, if it was a white kid, nonsense. That's just what they're trying to do. They're trying to race bait this thing, and so you get the circus, absolute circus of a trial. The prosecution shot themselves worse than, I don't know, the Metallica guy. It was just an absolute disaster there. And then they're stretching for everything they possibly can to make the defense look bad, and they still lose. In fact, there was this picture where the defense was with his two daughters there, and they were, calm down, I know this is extremely controversial, but they were enjoying a few ice cream cones. And then they were all up in arms over that because, I don't think that's very professional. You're a defense attorney for somebody that might be convicted of murder. You shouldn't have any fun with your family at this current time. You should not. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. That's how much they were digging for this. Again, the big travesty is that this even made it to court. And then he gets acquitted, which he should have never had to go through all that in the first place. So everybody that's saying justice served, let's not forget this man had to spend over a year in jail. That's not really justice for somebody that was completely innocent. It was already decided once that he was completely innocent, but that wasn't in front of a jury, so we'll go ahead and satiate the race baiters, and now he was acquitted completely 100%, not even of manslaughter in front of a jury. That's not really justice is served. I mean, he should have actually gotten something from the state for that, even though I'm not a huge fan of paying out of our own coffers, because, if you were in Florida, that would just be you paying for this whole travesty anyway. But then at the end of it, when he's all acquitted, something amazing happens. And this is what we're currently up in arms on. I can't even keep track of all the things we're supposed to be up in arms about the trial about. He gets his gun back. It was a Kel-Tec PF9. I'm sorry, I don't quite see the outrage there. A man kills somebody in self-defense. He's supposed to get his gun taken away? What? I can't even follow this idiotic logic that people at places like MSNBC want me to follow. I'm not quite sure I follow. Where exactly is the rage? Somebody that was entirely found not guilty, not innocent, because there's no such thing as getting found innocent, but get found not guilty of a crime, gets his own legally owned property back from the state, i.e. people that should not have it anyway. I'm sorry, I don't see the outrage. You're going to have to excuse me. I don't see the outrage. Somebody would have to clear that up. But, again, shouldn't even went to trial, and then I think people get a little confused as well because they wanted two things to be in this trial, which shouldn't even have existed, that have no business even being in this trial, in a trial that shouldn't even existed. One of them is Trayvon Martin's background. Oh, he used to smoke pot, and he used to have guns, and he used to not be a child. That's completely irrelevant. The only I don't care if he I don't know, jerked off and spewed his load all over the Bible for the previous 100 years of his life, even though he's only 17. That is irrelevant. The only thing that mattered at that for this case, which shouldn't even have happened, is what happened during that moment. And the same goes in the other direction. I don't care that George Zimmerman used to beat his wife. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what happened at that night, which was already not brought to trial because it shouldn't have been, but it was anyway. But the only thing that matters during that trial was that action between those two individuals. Their race doesn't matter, despite what the racists at MSNBC want you to think. Their past does not matter. None of that matters. That is the one thing I agreed that they were going to keep out of the case, but I started getting a little scared where they were going to let one side bring up the past of the person. They were going to let George Zimmerman's past be brought up, but not Trayvon Martin's. I'm like, that shows you how fucked up the system is. But luckily, they were both denied because that has nothing to do with the current case, which, again, should not have happened. So, in the end, I don't think that justice was served here because let's not forget, this man still got 1.5 years of his life taken away. Plus, because of the disgusting, disgusting racist media, he's never going to be able to live as a free man ever again because I'm going to get justice for Trayvon, the guy that was beating the life out of an innocent man and who wants somebody that defended themselves. Yes, you really need to get justice for him. Yeah, right. So he's never going to be able to be a free man again because of this entire circus. What should have happened is when it was decided by the police that it was already a self-defense thing, if we're going to start being racist about it and say that it was based on race, it shouldn't have even seen court. But that's just me. Again, a complete debacle. Justice was not served, and a child is dead. Nonsense. A criminal that was committing assault and attempted murder, is dead. And honestly, I don't have any remorse. I could not care less that Trayvon Martin is dead right now. Everyone else say, well, you know, 17-year-old kid was dead. It's a terrible tragedy. It would be a terrible tragedy if he wasn't out there killing a bunch of people. I don't hear a lot of people crying that Hitler is dead. Because, you know, he did something that he probably shouldn't have been, i.e. tried to murder somebody. So I don't feel any remorse for Trayvon Martin. I am thrilled that George Zimmerman is not going to have to deal with this anymore except for the rest of his life, that he's going to be in heaven to live in this dark cloud because the people have already made up their minds and whatever, the sheep will bow along to whatever the media says. And I'm glad it's over because I'm entirely fucking sick of hearing about it. Let's not forget, fun fact, let's not forget, this has all been a huge distraction to distract from all those minor issues like, I don't know, Egypt completely being up in arms because of somebody, you know, somebody that Barack Obama said, yeah. And then Egypt actually said, no. You know, it's just one of the small things. Let's not forget about Edward Snowden. I mean, just little things, not an inconsequential case of self-defense that should have been solved years ago. Let's not get totally distracted. I know it's a little hard for people to think about the real issues when we have a race bait issue going on, but let's not forget about that. So, let's see, if you have any different thoughts on the trial, if you think I'm totally wrong in this, then I'd love to hear about them in the comments. And if you think this has both been a distraction, a waste of time, a waste of money, and dividing the country more with race riots, race baiting, then I'd like to hear that as well. So thanks for watching. Take it easy, guys.